morning. This morning we are working again with the lower back, and the chakra involved is the nabi at the belly button, really important for yoga and Ayurveda. This is the center of 72,000 nadis, or rivers of energy that flow throughout the entire body. So it's a big hub, I think, of our human embodiment is right here. And it's also the center of ego, which gets a bad rap. But if you think of ego as how your soul comes into this body and takes form, and either this part of yourself is in service of the heart or tries to override the heart. And that's the part you don't want to do. So we'll be linking the power center, the personal power center, to the spiritual power center today. That's my bhavana, my intention. Hands at the heart. Last day of February. Spring is coming. Inhale, opening the arms at the sides. And exhale, bring the hands to that nabi. And you can create this yoni mudra, if you like, as you do that around the belly button. Inhale, opening up. And exhale, you can bend the knees and bring the hands in that diamond shape around the belly button. Inhale, the arms can be any height you like. You can keep them low for now, for example, or higher. Let's add some ha sound. When you do this rounding the lower back, drawing the belly in, drawing the core in, inhale, you might arch the back, you might start to bring the hands higher now, exhale. You bring your hands now to that area at the stomach, which Krishnamacharya called the Surya chakra, the sun chakra. He has an extra chakra in there, beyond the 7 regular ones. So this is all about the sun. And when you do feel empowered, you tend to feel quite sunny and strong and radiant. So this is also linked to personal power. Now bringing the hands a little higher and hands to the heart. Arching as you inhale, rounding as you exhale. Adding the humming sound. Keep this going and notice as you add sound, maybe you can lengthen your exhale more. So this is relaxing us 2 ways. Listening to the sound relaxes the nervous system, and lengthening the exhale relaxes us. Adding Om, the arms might come higher now. Just notice how that feels in your neck. Om. Bending my knees as I exhale, just to help me ground a bit. And release. Just take one hand on the heart and the other on the belly button. And inhale into the chest, into the belly. Exhale, draw the belly in. The chest falls. And as you do that inhale, try to think of the chest being not just the front, but the back and the sides. And the belly is not just being the front, but the sides and the back. So sometimes I find for myself, I put my attention on my back body rather than the front. And I try to get that expansion through the back, which goes to the sides and the front. May my personal power be linked to my heart's power. May my individual self, my ego, be linked to my eternal self, my heart. If you'd like to make an intention of that nature for yourself, go ahead in your own words, saying that to yourself either at home, out loud, or silently as you breathe. May my heart be linked to my gut. May my gut be linked to my heart. May my mind be linked to my heart. May my mind be linked to my heart. May my heart be linked to my mind. May my heart be linked to my mind. When you're ready, release. Moving more into the physical body, inhale, arms at the sides, maybe coming up into the toes. Feel free to put a block between the thighs, put a belt on the ankles if you like, lengthening the arms if that works for your shoulders, and exhale, coming down. So we come down, I want you to bow the head to the heart, to the gut, to the earth, and inhale, opening up. Bringing in new energy. Exhale, letting go of old energy. This time of year, spring is burning away the old and bringing in the new. Finding that balance between Abhyāsa, practicing being present, and vairāgyābhyāṃ, letting go of what is not serving you. Every time you inhale and exhale, inhale, bringing in something new, exhale, letting go of something old. Maybe staying at the top and breathing, finding where you want to put your hands. Palms together, interlock the fingers. Hold opposite elbows, hands on top of the head, shoulders or arms to the side at a height that works for you. Release coming out of it. All right, we're going to move into some warriors today. And if you want to use a chair, we looked at that last week, so feel free to take a chair and use that for your forward bends if you prefer, and also for your warrior, okay? So just keeping that in mind. Bringing your easy leg forward, so whatever seems the easiest for you. Starting with that, make sure you've got room around you to bring your arms to the sides and arms in front. So inhale, I want you to inhale as you bring your arms forward. You can do this with one arm rather than two if it's too much weight. And exhale, release. Inhale. And exhale. This is to decompress the back. So I know a lot of you in the room have backs that are a bit compressed. It's around 6 times, just simple warm up. You don't have to go down as far. If it's too much, and if your lower back's not liking this, just try one arm. So I really like the opposite arm to front leg, just to give a bit more attention to that one side of the back. So feel free to do that. And just finishing up this side, and we're going to move to the other side. We're just starting off slow this morning. It's a bit colder today. Inhale. So either opposite arm to front leg or both arms. Pause between inhale and exhale. Start to exhale before you start to move. Make the movement mindful. Inhale, top to bottom. Exhale, bottom to top. We're going to be working with the core again today. As soon as you move away from that center, go in and out of it, you're having to use your core strength. Doing this around 6 to 8 times. Just finishing up. We're going to go to the other side again. So I'm a huge fan of asymmetric poses, which most of you know because they do so much for us as we walk, etc. And I just discovered on my iPhone under the health app, you can actually measure asymmetry in your walking. And it's very interesting. On days where I've had a better practice, my asymmetry is actually about 0. And I have scoliosis. So pretty interesting. The days my practice is not as strong, it seems to be towards kind of high normal, which would be expected for scoliosis. So yoga works. Anyway, I need more study on this. Inhale, we're going to come into the pose now and stay. This is a strength pose. Okay, we're going to work on back strength today. You can do this with one arm if you prefer, if it's too much weight. As you exhale, bend the elbows, drop the shoulders. A lot of you have shoulder issues. You can have the palms facing each other. I think I'm going to do it that way. Myself, inhale. I'm going to bring my palms together as I inhale. And as I inhale, I'm going to stretch away, lengthen the spine. Exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, chest falls. Keep that going. Exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, chest falls. Just notice which way you'd like to put the palms. Both are fine. This is too much. Go back to the first practice, just coming in and out of it. So if you find it hard to lie on your back and do Superman kinds of poses, you can try this instead. It's very strengthening for the lower back. Also for the legs, we're just going to do one more. We haven't already given up. I'm coming back. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get warm, so I'm going to take off a layer. Let's do the other side. So inhale. I'm going to bring my palms together. That's an option, so I can really stretch my spine nice and long. Exhale, bend my elbows, palms down or facing each other, dropping the shoulder blades. I haven't done this in a long time. I used to do this a lot, about 20 years ago, when I had lower back pain. This was one of my go-to poses. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bend. And just finishing up. You can always finish earlier than me if you like. Take a break. We're going to do a forward bend. We're going to do this one at the wall. So I hope you don't have anything funny in your back. I put a mark on my wall a couple weeks ago by having a zipper on my back, so be careful. We're not going to move up and down. My feet, hopefully you can see, are away from the wall by about 2-3 feet. And I'm going to inhale, bring my arms up. And exhale, I'm going to come forward. So you might do this with bent elbows instead, because it might be too much weight for you. You might bend the knees right away, lengthening the spine. And exhale, coming forward and try to keep the spine nice and long, and then move into my Uttanasana for bend. And I'm going to straighten my legs. You don't have to. Now from here, I'm going to just go halfway up and down. I'm going to fold my elbows for this to decrease the lever. You can have straight arms. Inhale, move your arms first in line with your ears and start coming halfway up. If this is too much for your back, just stay in the forward bend and rest, or if you're at a chair, just stay in that half forward bend with the chair in front. Exhale forward. You can bend the knees at any time. That might be better for your back. So I'm going to show inhale, I'm straightening my legs. And then exhale, I'm going to keep that length, bringing my rib cage forward on my thighs, and then bend my knees a little bit to release deeper into my lower back. Now, if this is too easy for you, you can bring the arms in line with your ears and do it that way. That's a lot harder. If you're like me, you have an imbalance in your shoulders, so you can interlock your fingers, come halfway up to help lengthen the spine. This also is great for decompressing the spine. There's a senior teacher, direct student of Krishnamacharya, Srivastava Ramaswamy, and I had the opportunity to meet him when I was in Chennai last. He's in his 90s. He's still teaching online a lot these days. This was a live class, and he taught all the four bends with these interlocked fingers. And I thought, wow, this is so good for scoliosis, and he mentioned that actually in the class. This is very strengthening for the lower back. If you've had enough, just stay in the forward bend now and breathe. You might be feeling those lower back muscles having worked. You might want to go deeper, holding the backs of the legs or the heels. or the toes. Four bends are all about letting go, that vairāgyābhyāṃ, letting go. What can I cut by away? The ragyam is referring to the klesha raga, which is desire, attachment that is not helpful. We know from psychology attachment is important for a healthy human life. But do you have attachments to things that are not serving your soul's transformation towards spirit? Moving to breath awareness, just stay here and relax into it. Stay in the asana. And this was another thing that Sri Ramaswamy kept saying, it's go into the asana, just stay there, be. Asana means to be, just stay. Inhale, let, exhale, go. When you've had enough, come up very slowly and bring my hands to the wall, bending my knees. Putting my hands on my thighs, pressing up very, very slowly. Big change in blood pressure there. And I'm just going to rest at the wall for a minute. And when you feel ready, press away and find your samastiti. Hopefully you feel somewhat transformed. That's a very soft yet strong pose. Just notice how you feel. Now notice where your weight is in your feet. Has it changed? Has it become more sama, more even? Okay, we're gonna have some fun with our side bend balances. So I'm gonna do the non-chair version today. You can have a chair on either side, but I'm gonna do this in a way that I think all of you will be able to do it. I've been workshopping this, how to make it more accessible. So inhale, arms up, and exhale, you just come to one side. You can just be like this, or you can stick the opposite leg out, toe on the floor, or you can come off the ground. Okay? Inhale. One of my students, I taught this to last week, she said she reminded her of a starfish. So you like that image? I like the image of a star myself. And this is working with core strength, a variation of Tadasana. Adding a bit of Parshva, lateral movement. See how far you can go. So it's great preparation for that Ardha Chandrasana, that half moon pose we've been working on. Just getting you to weight on one side versus the other. Great for the hips. So again, you can make this easier by just keeping your toe on the ground, okay? It's much easier. You can have a chair that you bring your hand to, or you might add your leg and go down a little further. Let's do a few more. This is a challenge pose. Definitely helps to look ahead of you on the floor at a spot. So this is really working on strengthening one side at a time. Feel every edge of you. Where can you let go of unnecessary tension? So that you can gain efficiency in action. Yoga Sutra Chapter 247. It says, when you learn how to do that, you'll sink into infinite harmony, balance, ananta. You'll merge into harmony. Patanjali, the Taoist. It's a very Taoist statement. You could make it more challenging by staying on one side for a few breaths. Oh, just a nice crack. Just finishing your last round. You might have already finished. The breath becomes soft and subtle in these stay poses. When you're just being in the pose. Exhale, release. Notice how you feel. Okay, we're going to keep going with these asymmetrics. So you're going to do, bring your left foot forward, your right foot back. You do Parsva Uttanasana. I'm going to have you do it with one arm, opposite arm to front leg. My other hand is behind me, palm up or down, your choice, or on your hip if you've got a shoulder injury. Inhale, opposite arm to leg coming up. Exhale. Now you might need to bend your front knee as you do this, and you could have a chair in front of you. I'm stretching as long as I can, my whole back nice and long, and then I'm drawing my belly in at the same time, coming forward. Inhale, coming halfway up. My arm is nice and long. I'm arching my spine now. Halfway up. Ardha Uttanasana, and it's Parsva variation. One-sided. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, release. Okay, we're going to do that a bunch of times. You can do different versions of this. You can just go up and down. Skip the halfway part. You could just stay down and go halfway up and then down. You might prefer that. This is stretching and strengthening one side of the spine at a time. It's particularly good when there's imbalances in the spine. This is something I do in my own practice for my own balancing of my back and hips, with a focus on traction of the spine as you come forward, drawing the gut in. Inhale, halfway up. Arching the spine, strengthening the back. Exhale, forward bend. And inhale, coming up. Exhale, release. That's number 2. Inhale. We're going to do 4 of these. Exhale, just in case you get tired. You can do this with a chair. Inhale, so you come halfway down to the chair and just go back up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You can also have a block that you have your hand coming to as you come forward. Last time. Inhale, lengthening the spine. Exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in. So I'm lengthening my upper back, but I'm rounding my lower back right away as my gut draws in. So this is a rounding pose for the lower back. Inhale, this is an arching pose. It's inhale. Inhale arches the spine. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. We're going to finish this by doing the other side, and then we're going to come back and we're just going to stay on each side and breathe, okay? So this is our warm up. Finding your other side. So this is balancing the hips, strengthening one side of the back at a time. I'm using opposite arm to front leg. You could use the same arm as front leg. That has a different effect that you could play with. Exhale. This is a bit more typical, opposite arm to front leg. Inhale. This is your harder side, like it is for me. You might find your balance a little more challenging. Exhale. Inhale, arching the spine as you come up. Exhale. Now when you come up, try to keep a little bit of connection to the pelvic floor so you're engaging your core, your mula bandha. Inhale. So this mula bandha, exhale, it's a lock. It starts physically and then it moves to energetic. I'm stretching the upper spine. I'm drawing the belly in. So you'll see a rounding in my lower back, especially as I come to the thigh. Each time you do it, your spine should be getting a little longer if your back is compressed. Exhale, the next step would be staying one breath in that halfway position. We're not going to do that today, but you could add that at home. One breath in the halfway position. This is not accessible at all. You can try it without the arms. Just the back. Just drop the arms, have them both on your lower back. I think this is number 3. I think I lost count, but I'm going to say this is number 3. And the last time, you might be also feeling your feet, lots of work with the feet. Bend, step back if you can, samsthiti. We're going to go into the pose now, the asana. We're going to stay. Bring the other foot forward, back foot back, heel to heel alignment or wider. Coming forward, now you can use blocks. Just want to show this, you can use a chair. So just working on the asana itself. So you could be here, for example, inhale, lengthening, exhale, coming to your place. Have that movement. It's called sthiti. It's a movement of the spine that just helps you get deeper into it each time. Or you might be ready to stay. You can use your fingertips as props. You can use a chair. You can also use the wall. Parshva Uttanasana, one-sided forward bend. Trying to get my rib cage so it's connected left and right to my front thigh. It's a slight twist to this pose with the torso, very slight. And just breath awareness, drop the long inhale, exhale, just stay in the pose and notice the breath. Inhale, let exhale go. When you're ready, bending that front knee. Just step the other foot forward, just coming out very, very slowly. Hands to the thighs, inhale, exhale, stay. Maybe lifting the head up, help with the blood pressure, inhale, coming up. So those deep forward bends will not be for people who have eye issues, glaucoma, cataract surgery, blood pressure issues, where you kind of feel like your head is exploding when you're going forward, all bad signs. So use a chair or props. Just going to go into the pose. So you could have your hands on your hips. You could have your thumbs in those hip creases. You could have your hands on your lower back, whatever works for you. Coming forward. Finding that length. You want to bring the rib cage. You can even lift it. Bring it forward on the thigh. Take those blocks if you like. Add a little height as you inhale and exhale. Doing this with your hands at a chair so that your head does not go lower than your heart. And you can leave your head up as well. It's too much change to blood pressure. Exhaling from the pelvic floor down. Today we're working a lot on traction of the spine, strengthening the spine, linking the head to the heart. And linking the little self to the big self, which is like linking the head and the heart together. Staying in the pose if that works for you. Any props needed, just stay. Inhale, let, exhale, go. Abhyāsa. What can you let in that's new? Vairāgyābhyāṃ. What can you cut away that is blocking your progress? For Sanskrit, inhale Om, exhale Namo. I surrender, I let go. I offer myself to this present moment, to this present breath. When you've had enough, stepping forward. Your hands to your thighs, inhale. Exhale, stay. Inhale, coming up. So find your center. Notice how you feel in your mind, in your breath, in your body. Notice how you're wading into your feet. You might be feeling a lot of sensation on the leg that you tend not to favor when you walk, move around in the world because of injury in a hip or a lower back or a knee or even an ankle. It can be an old ankle injury that is showing up in that way. Encouraging sama, balance. Samastiti, this pose. Balance in standing. When you're ready, we're going to move on to our next asymmetric flow, back to the symmetry of samastiti. So I did this for the hips, I think, a few weeks ago. I also do this for the lower back. You know, some of you have problems balancing your hips, and that does lead to lower back issues. So we do want to work with that. So inhale, bringing your arms up in the center. Exhale, twisting to your easy side and coming down, lengthening the spine nice and long. Little ways this way. Inhale, keep that length as you come up. Coming into the center. Start to exhale, go to the other side. So your leg can be straight or it can be bent. Exhale, center. You can bend the legs or keep them straight. Exhale, release. So this time I'm going to show it with bent knees. I want you to feel the difference. So especially if you have trouble with one hip versus the other and weighting into that leg, that hip, that side of your lower back, you might want to bend that knee and also get you a nice groin stretch on the opposite side. Sometimes you can have unevenness that leads to one side of the groin being really tight. Exhale, other side. This also has a different effect on the lower back. When you bend, especially I notice it when I come forward, it decompresses the spine more with the bend. So make a choice. I'm going to do straight legs today for whatever reason. My body's asking for that. So make a choice. Start to exhale and start to move down. Exhale, other side. This is Prasarita Pada Uttanasana variation. Spread footed forward bend. Here's the pose. The other is a variation. Round 4. Inhale up, exhale, twist and go down. Inhale, extend. Through the center, start to exhale, other side. And through the center, exhale. And release. Okay, now we're going to do more of that half forward bend strength work and also weighting one side to the other with the hips. So I'm going to get you to come to the center, come forward. And then bend one knee. Bring your hands towards that knee. And inhale, coming halfway up, arms at the side. And exhale, bend the other knee and come to it. Now, if you've got those blood pressure, eye issues, just keep your head up and look up as you do this, if it's okay on your neck. So just keep your torso higher. You could have blocks that you come to on either side, or just use your fingertips. I'm going to release my head down as I exhale. You want to make this harder, bring the arms to the front alongside the ears, or my preference, I like to do one arm. I like the feeling of this. And then I switch arms. So I'm using opposite arm to the leg I'm coming to. And then I come to the center and I extend that arm along with my ear. I bring the hand behind and I bring the other hand down, opposite hand to leg. Inhale, extend that same arm out. Exhale, release, switch arms. This is strengthening the lower back and stretching into the hips. And when you feel like you've had enough, just stay in that forward bend. And bend your knees. You can have your hands on a chair. You can have your hands on blocks. You can do that extension of the spine, especially if you've got those blood pressure, eye issues. You can try this. Inhale, looking up, lengthening. Exhale, just coming a little bit down with your head. Or you might be able to take it further. Now, can you stay forward and bring your hands forward on blocks or chairs and lengthen the spine, that traction. Now bend your knees and feel how you can increase the traction by bending the knees. And can you come into your full forward bend, holding the ankles, big toes, hands behind the back. Put a block under your head, that can be nice. And just rest. And come out of it very slowly. I'm going to bring my hands to the floor and I'm going to walk my feet in a little bit and come up halfway. Inhale, exhale, stay. Inhale, coming up. I always feel that one a lot in my ankles. If you've got tight calves and ankles, you might also feel it there. And just notice how you feel. That was our last standing pose. So we're going to take it down to the floor. And you might want to put a layer on, get a carpet mat to lie on. Like I've shared with you in India, when I started, we never used mats for standing poses, only for supine ones, so I kind of back to that. But of course it depends. If you're doing sun salutations, I have to say having a mat is very helpful. So my Tuesday morning class, I do use a yoga mat. But for my supine poses, I tend to use my fuzzy carpet. It's nice and cozy on a wintry day. Just placing your feet at the wall or keeping your knees bent. Now I want you to notice which one feels better for your spine. So this is more of a back arch, and this is you walking around the world, arching your back. Less so when you lie down, but this is a back arch. So notice how your back feels here versus bending your knees. So based on my check-in and knowing each of you a little bit, I think for most of you, it's actually going to feel better with bent knees, but just assess that. So I tend to like in this pose to lengthen my legs, but I know I can't do it too long without some sort of negative effect on my back. Some of my students also like in this position to put a block under the buttocks, which arches the back more, but pushes the hips forward and stretches the hip flexors. So you might like that as well. So in this rest, just notice which version you're going to choose today. We're going to do some leg stretches and some core work, which I was working on in my practice on Friday to prepare for this. I thought I'd introduce some of this. Last time we did some leg movement in this pose. Today we're going to drawing the legs into the core. Today we're going to lift one leg up at a time and just see how that goes. So inhale, your arms are coming up. And I'm going to flex my feet, my toes towards my nose as I do this. And exhale, I'm going to bend one knee just to make this a little easier to start with. Exhale, bring one leg up as the arms come down. And inhale, I lied, I'm going to point my toes. And exhale, flex. So you can make this harder by having both legs straight. So I'm going to show that way. And if you do it this way, you can go side to side, but some of you have a bent knee, so I'm just going to show one side at a time. Now I want you to use the core as you do this. So you're going to start to exhale before you start to move. This is a dynamic stretch for the hamstrings, but I'm using the core. So if you do this right, you should be shaking. So I'm shaking, so I really keep my lower back going to the ground, and I lift the leg from my mula, my root. And one more time. You might want a blanket or pillow under your head. Let's do the other side. So I'm going to start with just showing it with that bent knee, which a lot of you are going to want to do. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, flexing the foot, bringing it up, moving from the core, coming to where you can. Inhale, pointing. Exhale, flexing. This is comfortable. You can try this with both legs straight. Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. This is a variation that's used for moving towards the classical pose, which is with both legs moving at once. And classically, this is a preparation for shoulder stand. We do this pose before shoulder stand to prepare the core for being able to go into that pose. That's a pose that we tend to do less after age 50, just because of compression of the spine and eye issues and all the fun effects of aging. But you can still get this semi-inversion by doing this. Okay, so now we're going to move into a hamstring stretch with this. So you're going to do it either with this leg bent or straight. I'm going to start with bend. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, I want you to bring that leg in and just hold underneath the thigh, the calf, or both the big toe. And inhale, extend. Just that. Okay, so I'm not using the belt. I'm going to Chennai today to show you how my teachers might teach this without a belt. So this is classical, and more classical is extending that bottom leg. So pick your medicine. I need to bend my leg a little bit to get that big toe extension. But I can just hold my thigh and more easily get into the pose when I extend that bottom leg. So get a little bit of challenge, but not so much challenge that you're compromising the pose. It's a dynamic stretch for the hamstring. We're going to go into a static stretch shortly with the belt. Working with the hamstrings back to the legs and feet is really important for the lower back. In many cases, based on my check-in, I would think that this would help many of you in the room today. We're going to switch to the other side, release, just take a break. Foundation of this pose is Tadaka Mudra. Inhale, arms up, and we start with the opposite leg bent. Make it a little easier. Exhale, bring the leg up and holding the thigh, calf, or the big toe. Now, if you, like me, have a bit of compression in one of your hips, when you inhale, stretch that foot way, way, way out. Lengthen it so you decompress your hip flexor. Extremely helpful if you've got pain in one of your hips from compression of nerves, tendons, etc., which might be leading to pain. This was a real game changer for me when I discovered this by chance. My teacher in India gave me this pose, but when I discovered that piece, it really changed it for me. I'd be extending that bottom leg now. Doing this 6 to 8 times, your own time. I'm just going to hold under my thigh and do the full pose. And release. Okay, take a break. Surprisingly, a lot of work. And we're going to take the belt. I can find my belt. Hopefully you can find yours. You can use a scarf if you don't have a belt. In Chennai, they call those scarves dupatas, and it's really wonderful when you see yoga therapy happening. My teacher will say, please remove your dupada. We're going to use this pose, your dupada, for this pose. So you don't have to have a belt. All right, it is a nice prop if you've got it. And they're Western props. So I like to make a loop of my belt, pre-make it, but you can hold it however feels good for you. And I'm going to straighten that bottom leg, and I'm going to put my foot at the wall so that I really can imagine I'm standing. You could put a sandbag on the opposite hip to keep it down, or bend that leg. And we're going to stay here and breathe and just really enjoy, hopefully enjoy this pose. We've stretched the legs a lot today standing. If you need a bit of movement, exhale, bend that knee, and this might feel good in your hips because this is a supine lunge. Inhale, extend. A lot of my students like this variation that I created for my own body. We're using a little bit of muscular strength and locking. Go more deeply into the tissue, connective tissue. You might point the toes as you inhale, exhale, flex. You might be ready to just stay in the pose. Classically, this is done holding the big toe. You might be able to do that. It's quite a bit stronger when you do it this way. The thing I don't like about this is you notice my shoulders off the ground. And there's so many neck issues that I don't think for most of us that's a great idea. But even though I have a neck issue, I can now do that without pain. So things do change and there are no rules, hard and fast rules. Whatever works is the rule. You can also add this piece. This is more advanced. I believe this probably stimulates the thyroid gland from what we think in yoga therapy, and some research I wrote on this. Bring your head up, chin log, jawanda bandha, and inhale up. This might be too much for your neck, but it's very strengthening for the neck and compresses the thyroid. I'm doing a hold after exhale. Strengthening the front of the neck, the throat area. All right, let's switch sides. So pick whatever variation you want. We'll start with the bending and straightening. That bottom leg can be bent substantially easier. Put a sandbag on this opposite hip down to work with that hip. You can use a bag of beans or rice. That works quite well as a home prop. 5 to 15 pounds is the norm for those. 5 to 10 is actually the norm, sometimes 15. Exhale, bend that knee. Get into those hip flexors, hamstrings. Inhale, extend, maybe pointing the toes. I like to press the opposite foot into the wall. Imagine I'm standing. Supta Padangustasana. Padangustasana. And just staying in the pose if that works for you. Drawing that glute, your hip completely down to the ground as you do this. Feeling the backs of your legs, those 3 hamstrings, maybe into your calf. This is also great work for tracking of the knees when you have knee issues. So that bending and straightening. You want to add on, exhale, bring your head up. Could be holding the big toe when doing this. Inhale down. Exhale up. Stay after exhale. Inhale down. Just watch how that feels in your neck. If it's too much, skip this part. This is working with your core. Jawanda bandha, chin lock. When you're ready, release. Bend your knees or stay in this position and rest. Notice how you feel. So I personally can always tell when my spine is more twisted. I lie down. I'll feel this rotation to one side or the other. You can balance that by putting half a blanket under that side that feels like you're rotating towards. Put a small blanket the length of your spine and even on your hip to help with that. But through the practices, you should start to feel that your spine comes to balance. So it's always nice when that happens. You're like, oh, my practice really has been working. Just resting here. The legs can be bent or straight. Inhale Om, exhale Namo. Inhale Let, exhale Go. Okay, so we're going to flip on to one side. We're going to work on some hip strengthening, also for the hips, but also for the lower back. I'm just going to angle my camera down just a touch. Make sure you can see me a bit better. There we go. Okay. So going on to one side, you really need to see all of me quite well to be able to do this. So you can have a pillow under your head. You could classically, you're up like this. I personally don't like doing it this way, so I do it with my arm under my ear. You can have a pillow or a block under your head. And we're just going to start simply. And you can have both legs straight, or you can bend the bottom leg. That's the way I like to do it, to create a bit more evenness in my hips. And this also helps decompress the hips if one hip is a bit compressed. And that can help with the lower back. So inhale, we're going to bring the leg up. And exhale down. So we're just going to start with that. And every time I bring it down, I'm pointing my toes and I'm stretching my foot away, so I'm decompressing through the lower back and hip. So inhale up and exhale center. And I'm adding some ankle movement. Inhale, I'm flexing. And exhale, I'm pointing. Now, if you want to play with this, you can do this variation, which is sometimes called around the clock. You just start bringing the leg forward. It's really strengthening the side of the hip. We didn't do this term when we were working with the hips, so I thought I'd bring this in today as a reminder. This is also very helpful for lower backs. And just notice if there's one point where it's a little harder, that outside of the hip. Abduction and adduction, moving away and towards the center. Just take a break, bend both knees and just take a break in the side child's pose. Before we go into Anantasana, the sleeping Vishnu pose. And Ananta, I mentioned it earlier today, it means infinite harmony. Creating this bedrock of stability in your mind and your body so that you can become one with infinite harmony, balance. So straightening that top leg and bringing your hands overhead if you can. You can have that bottom leg straight as well if you want. And then exhale, you bring your leg up, and classically you're holding the big toe here. But you can hold the calf and you could move in and out of this as an exercise. So inhale here, exhale here. But we've already done a lot of that. So for today, I'm just going to do this stretch. You could hold your foot with a belt as well. And you could have that lower leg straight. I'm not going to show that because that doesn't work well for me. I'm just stretching. Could be holding the calf or even the thigh or using a belt. See, I'm going to see if I can do it with my legs straight today. No, yeah, I seem to be able to almost do it today. It's a little bit of a balance pose. And the full thing is with your hand on your head. But I'm a little uncomfortable for my neck, but whew. There you go, the sleeping Vishnu pose. All right, going to the other side. So we've modified it as a hip strengthener, but the classical is just a stretch. So picking your variation, you could hold your head. I've got the arm under my head. You can just have the arms forward and have a block or a pillow under the head. Find your setup, that lower leg can be straight or it can be bent. And just making sure you've got room to go around. Inhale here, exhale, coming up. This is one way to start. Or just place that top hand in front of you and start moving around the clock. Inhale up and exhale down. If you like, inhale, you can point, and exhale, flex. And again, every time you inhale, try to create space in the hip, the lower back. So if you've got compression on one side of your lower back, which I know some of you do, this might be extremely helpful for your lower back. So in this position, especially where my leg is straight, I'm pressing my toe away from me and I'm decompressing through my lower back and my hip. Doing about 3 rounds. Notice if one hip is weaker than the other. Notice if that same side of your lower back is weaker. You can do the full Vishnu pose, starting with that movement if you like. And you can just keep this going. Inhale, extend, decompress, extend, 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 exhale, bend, or you can go into the stretch, holding the big toe. You can hold the leg with the calf or the thigh or use the belt. And then you could extend that bottom leg, a little challenging. And you can bring your hand up on the head. Ooh. This side's even harder for me. So I'm going to keep that lower leg bent, I think, on this side. So just modify for your needs today. Let's play with it a bit. And when you're ready, coming out of that, let's go into side child, rest. And move into your Shavasana. Just completely rest, you deserve it, work too hard. One way I like to really balance the pelvis is putting my feet at the wall. and do my Shavasana like this. It's also very grounding. You can also put a belt on your ankles